Hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily, the news show powered by ohmTown.com. Today is April 21st, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 112. I'm Mayor Watt, and up there and all around is the sentient AI from the future. Go for it.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Welcome to ohmTown Daily.
We're going to be talking about endless boosters, going bananas, AI-generated coffee recipe, firefighters, AI boxes up problems, curling paper, some whales live a lot longer, ice cream in Milan, that's a big fish, and AI vocabulary. Once again, I am Mayor Watt, and over there is ohmTown.com. Go over there, sign up, become a citizen. You can do all kinds of stuff over there. It's all kinds of news, none of the noise. All the noise is encapsulated right here in, well, the ohmTown streams. There's quite a few of them now. I'm going to run through them really quick. So, on the weekends, we have ohmTown Daily News Show. This is Saturday, actually. On Saturdays, we have ohmTown Daily News Show, then Reality Hacker, then Wanted, then Warcrafters. And then on Sunday, today, we're going to have this show, ohmTown Daily News Show, then the Continuity Report, then Technology Today, and then Four Wheel Tech. And I am going to announce one new show for sure. And that show is Mix War. So on Sundays, Mix War will put together a series of AI-generated songs and start playing them. And if people roll in and enjoy the show, they can vote on each individual song. The show will go as long as Mayor Watt decides to run this initial show. It's not tonight. It's going to be next week. And then all throughout the summer of stream, that show will run along with all the rest of our shows. I have another show. I may announce it the day that I actually kick it off next week. And that show would be on Saturday night. SATUR. Oh, no. I got to stop doing that.
Don't get a copyright strike or whatever.
That's exactly what I need. Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to... I've always wanted to have a music show. The problem is the sync license BS, where if you talk about it, and see, I want to talk about the music. I don't want to just listen to it. I want to play it. I want to chew it up and spit it out and say, this is what I like about it. This is what I don't like about it. And one of the things that I don't have to worry about with AI generated work is I don't have to worry about copyright. First off, it's my work. If others want to partake in what Mix War is all about, then everybody has to agree to not pursue anybody else. And of course, ohmTown has distribution rights so that we can restream the music that gets generated so that we don't get, somebody filing a takedown after they knowingly interact with the show. So what's going to end up happening is I'll go into a deeper dive next weekend, Sunday night, and it'll be the Sunday Night Mix War. And so
that's exciting.
The motto there is going to be, well, because it's going to be a competition, it's going to be make some music, pick a fight, mix it up. And so we're going to have a competition that runs weekly, monthly. Then from there, it depends. I might push it to quarterly, semi-annually, and annually. Big show each year with all the music that has filtered to the top. But we'll go into greater detail next weekend. With that in mind, we've already selected all 10 of our articles. So let's get into the first article right after we hear from our sponsor, which isn't really our sponsor. It is ohmTown.com. So I'm doing away with transitions because they actually slow down the show quite a bit. A considerable amount of time is dedicated to these short transitions, and I'd rather get the news out to y'all and talk about it, give our perspectives, the sentient AI above, well, everywhere nowadays, and myself tend to have some experience with these things, as many people do, but maybe you're interested in somebody else's take, or maybe it's a parallel to your take and you're looking for somebody that might actually be of like mind to you, and that's what community is all about. And if you're of a differing opinion, then by all means throw your comment into the chat, throw it into the comments over on YouTube. We have podcasts that where you can leave a comment there. I'll even, if you rate it a 5, I'll quote it right here in the show. You know, so and so said so and so, and we'll just go from there. It's a conversation. This isn't, you know, you have to do it the way that Mayor Watt says it. Anyway, let's get going. First article's over in Technology Today. No more endless boosters. Scientists develop one for all virus vaccine. What do you think?
Okay, this sounds promising. I guess the first question is, what do they do when they need to make a variation? Or maybe they adjust this one for all, but we know we've seen updates to things like flu vaccines and COVID vaccines.
Yeah. End of the line for endless boosters? Researchers at UC Riverside have developed a new vaccine approach using RNA that's effective against any strain.
I mean, I think this increases the likelihood that people will get vaccinated, not necessarily if they're anti-vax or something, but I mean, for convenience, right? If they can get something that kind of covers everything.
Yep. University of California, Riverside put the article together. It's published over at SciTech Daily. Sometimes the background music is disconcerting. So the title of this, again, is No More Endless Boosters. Scientists develop one for all virus vaccine. Every year, researchers try to predict the 4 influenza strains that are most likely to be prevalent during the upcoming flu season. It seems weird that they have it locked down to 4 strains. And every year, people line up. It's like, what's that? The type of ice cream that is chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry?
Neapolitan.
Neapolitan, not cosmopolitan. So Neapolitan. You have to create some other flavor and stick it in there, like pistachio. And so it's like the Neapolitan for influenza strains. It's weird. Why 4? I've never known why, but yeah, that's how it is. The new strategy would eliminate the need to create all these different shots because it targets a part of the viral genome that is common for all strains of a virus, which is interesting because not all viri are like horribly debilitating deadly. So is this like the chemo of viri?
Right. Or is it more the other direction, right? Like it's less strong because it only has the common aspects. Who knows?
The vaccine, how it works, and demonstration of its efficacy in mice is described in a paper published today. I'm not sure what day that is actually. April 21st, 2024. According to this, I believe. Yeah, that was brand new.
It was April 20th up at the top.
Was it? Oh, this is actually turning.
I'm looking where the topics are.
You know what? I don't know. It has to have been within the last 24 hours because this show only talks about news from the last 24 hours. So. This new strategy would eliminate the need to create all these different shots, which is absolutely amazing. You create one shot and it's one and done. Now, they say endless boosters and it's a one for all virus vaccine, but it's not a cure. It's not a stop all. You can still get infected.
Correct. I mean, this is a true vaccine, right? Not
a cure, not an antibody that lasts persistently, right? We grind through them as time goes on. The new vaccine also uses a live modified version of a virus. However, it does not rely on the vaccinated body having this traditional immune response or immune active proteins, which is the reason it can only be used by babies whose immune systems are underdeveloped or people suffering from a disease that overtaxes their immune system. Instead, this relies on small silencing RNA molecules, which really doesn't sound, when you describe it like that, it sounds debilitating, right?
Sounds kind of threatening.
A host, and I don't even like the term host, which is a person, a mouse, anything infected, will produce small interfering RNAs as an immune response to viral infection. The RNAi will knock down the virus, said Shuai Ding, distinguished professor of microbiology at UCR and lead paper author. When the researchers tested this strategy on a mouse virus called Notomura, they did it with mutant mice lacking T and B cells. With one injection, they found the mice were protected from a lethal dose of the unmodified virus. Lethal dose of the unmodified virus for at least 90 days. Note that some studies show 9 mouse days are roughly equivalent to 1 human year. So this is effectively
like
a
it's a new
cure
unit of measurement.
of time. Yeah. Oh my gosh. The secret of Nim was actually they're time travelers. Wow. So 1 mouse day, or no, 9 mouse days are roughly equivalent to 1 human year. So for 90 days or 10 years, essentially they were protected. A person would be protected.
That's really interesting. Okay.
So if you could actually, translate that the same way. So it says their flu vaccine will also likely be delivered in a spray of in the form of a spray, as many people have an aversion to needles. Respiratory infections move through the nose, so a spray might be easier delivery system. All right. I mean, the spray ends up partially in your lungs and partially in your digestive system. So if it can survive your digestive system, I would rather get the shot because then it's a little bit more directly
I feel like
effective.
It's more targeted and it's more likely to be delivered perfectly. Not that you'll have a problem with it, but it might be partially ineffective if you don't do it as well through the spray.
You know that 10 milligrams aren't going to be eaten up by your immune system or by your digestive system because it ends up in your throat and then you swallow when you spray it in your nose. It doesn't stay entirely in your nose. It's interesting. So ultimately, the researchers believe that they can cut and paste this strategy to make a one and done vaccine for any number of viruses. They basically are going to find the ones that they need to eliminate. But I suppose I thought all of the viruses have the same key ingredient that this is supposed to short circuit. That's what it says at the top.
Right. It made it sound like this could be used for across different.
Yeah, it does. It says viruses. It right there. Against any strain of a virus. I suppose it's the new, like the vaccine has to still be created, but it would be targeted towards a certain virus.
Right.
Okay, well, let's keep going. This next article is over in Semiotic Ontology. There are more than 1,000 varieties of banana, and we eat one of them. Here's why that's so absurd. This is actually aggregated from another source that links to another source, and it's one of our sources. And so we're actually... It's kind of funny because just the other day in a previous episode of this show, we were talking about the fact that there are thousands of bananas, but we only eat one, and it's pretty much going extinct.
That's why this was submitted, because of that reference.
Oh, gotcha. So when you peel a banana, you're on the receiving end of a near miraculous $10 billion supply chain. One that sends seemingly endless quantities of a tropical fruit halfway across the world to be among the cheapest, most readily available products in a supermarket aisle, on average around 12p. It's a British source, so 12p. But incredibly, there's no inbuilt backup plan or safety net if the one variety that most of the globe trades on starts to fail. So just to lean really quickly into this, I'm not going to be able to talk about this because we don't typically follow links through our links, but we've already discussed this in some capacity over the last 3 years. In a nutshell, the main banana supply, the main crop, the main genetic line of banana that most people consume is suffering from a bacterial infection, I think it is, and the whole crop, like the whole species, is being wiped out. Some people are saying that it's already wiped out, it just doesn't know it yet. And researchers are trying to find a cure.
I mean, it seems like this would be a good time to explore using some other types of bananas. I mean, obviously trying to solve the underlying issue, but it's not wait until all bananas are, well, maybe they're not wiped out, but I suspect they're not being cultivated since they're not ones that humans consume.
Yeah, and this article references the fact that there are a lot of varieties out there, but we only really consume that standard one that looks like so-and-so, and it may be doing civilization a disservice because perhaps there are others out there that have better nutrients and better viability, better defenses against whatever malady is taking it out.
Exactly.
I really wish, I can't remember what it's called that's taking it out, but we won't spend too long on this one. In fact, let's just keep going. You can follow the link over to the source, and that source will follow. You can follow that link over to The Guardian, which is where it's from. And I don't think there was a name. Yeah, it's just the analyzing trends. This next article is over in Technology Today, and the title is Coffee Roastery in Finland has launched an AI-generated blend. The results were surprising. Did you happen to find it?
Is that good or bad surprising?
Yeah, I was walking through the aisles at the grocery store recently, and I ran across spiced Coke. I think it was spiced Coke. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yes.
And I had never even heard of that. And I tried it, and I tried a small bottle of it, and I actually liked it, but I don't really eat sugar that much anymore. And so even the, like, I don't like drinking soft drinks anymore. So I don't know if I'm no longer a good test subject for what might taste good. But I actually liked it, and thankfully my defenses are up pretty strong nowadays, and I won't fall back onto it. But man, really flavorful drinks, I think might be my Achilles heel. Just don't drink the green Gatorade. Anyway, this coffee roastery and that article. This article has nothing to do with what we were just talking about, by the way. I swear I'm like a cat following a little laser beam on the wall. An artisan roastery based in the Finnish capital has introduced a coffee blend that has been in development by artificial intelligence in a trial. It's been developed by an artificial intelligence in a trial in which it's hoped that technology can ease the workload in a sector that traditionally prides itself on manual work. Well, let me tell you, there's always going to be people out there that like records in physical form. So, vinyl. They want records.
Right. They want the authentic thing.
There's always somebody that wants bootleg audio and not the latest Taylor Swift, which, boy, there are some discussions out there about that. Not from me. I don't really care.
Are you sure?
Yeah, but the hype around it is really funny. We'll get into that. Maybe we'll talk about it next week if it stays on the radar. But it's quite fascinating. Anyway, and there are people out there that swear the only way that you can make chef's kiss coffee is by, I don't know. They say, doing it manually, but what does that actually, manual work? Your own manual work? Or do you want to go and grab somebody off the street and say, make my coffee and do it with your hands,
That seems inappropriate.
Yeah, I think all of it is inappropriate. What people want is just good coffee. It doesn't need to be somebody drip a little drop of blood into it so that you have the essence of mankind in it, or humankind. Let me back away from that one. Anyway, the article's over at Tech Explorer. Jari Tanner is the author of this, techexplorer.com. There's no deck statement, but it says, it is only apt that the Helsinki-based Kaffa Roastery's AI Conic, I have to say it like that, AI Conic, blend, which is iconic. You can say it really fast. It's AI Conic, like iconic.
Right, you can almost say it as iconic.
Just iconic.
Depending on how you're pronouncing it, but yeah.
Maybe it translates better in Finnish. So what am I talking about? The blend was launched last week in Finland, a Nordic nation of 5.6 million people that consumes the most coffee in the world. That's something I didn't know.
That's news to me. I would have never picked Finland.
Wow, interesting. So they drink the most coffee in the world at 12 kilograms per capita annually, according to the International Coffee.
There's a wild guess.
Staying warm.
Well, actually, that's probably a better guess. I was thinking staying awake when they have full darkness.
Oh, that's interesting.
But that could be another country as well, but that came to mind.
I don't know. Okay, you know what? I'm going to do it live. Yeah, you can hear me typing. So Business Insider says it pretty succinctly. Finland has long dark days, so coffee helps people stay awake.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it is from Business Insider.
I think the heat probably has something to do with it too, though.
Yeah, and it has a person wrapped up in like a parka with a massive scarf and a cap on and long hair, and while they look happy, they look frozen too. So the blend, an AI picked mixture of 4 types of beans dominated by Brazil's velvety Fazenda Pinhal, is the end result of a joint project by Kaffa, Finland's 3rd largest coffee roastery, and local AI consultancy. I think it's called Elev. So leveraging models akin to ChatGPT and Copilot, the AI was tasked with crafting a blend that would ideally suit coffee enthusiasts' tastes, pushing the boundaries of conventional flavor combinations. By the way, being cagey like this doesn't really impress anybody. Nowadays, I can probably throw, something into any AI and then say, do it again, do it again, do it again. We can make all of it and try it.
Right.
Don't be cagey.
I mean, if this was, more than a year ago, maybe we would have been like, whoa, this is magic or something. But
yeah,
now it's like everybody could do that if they had any coffee knowledge, right?
Yeah. And yeah, grabbing an AI. Was it Meta? You can say Meta. It's fine. Was it their own, Elev's own home brewed, artificial intelligence? Doubt it.
I want to know what software they use, for instance.
Yeah. Maybe they say somewhere else in the article. Probably not. Because they're really cagey about it up here. Kaffa's Roastery managing director and founder Svante Humph, I guess, told the Associated Press on Saturday that the 2 partners wanted to trial how AI and its different tools could be of help in coffee roasting, a traditional artisan profession highly valued in Finland. So bucking that trend of high value Finnish belief in coffee creation probably isn't going to be gathering anybody's, love letters are not going to be coming into this person.
No, I wouldn't think so. I mean, because it seems like it's almost anti the local culture. On the
Yeah.
other hand, if they can make some inroads into it, that would be very interesting. Obviously, they have a high population of coffee drinkers.
So they say here that it's a well-balanced blend of sweetness and ripe fruit. Chose to make the blend out of 4 different types of beans rather than the usual 2 or 3, which allows distinction in taste between flavors from different regions. So I'm not. If the flavors are the right combination, then you could suss out each of them as you drink them, particularly if you're attuned to those type of tastes, a coffee connoisseur. Same thing happens with beer. You use different types of hops, use different types of materials throughout the brew process, and it changes the expression of it. Even spirits, and that's where the expression comes from. But even spirits, you grab this Gatorade bottle that has cucumber in it, and you'll get a spirit that has cucumber
But it
notes.
may or may not be worth getting again.
There's no sugar in this, I don't think, so it wouldn't turn into a spirit anyway. Anyway, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. So yeah, apparently the AI has come up with something that a human just hadn't gotten around to.
Well, it sounds like it because it seems like the AI kind of thought outside the box based on that statement about the somewhat weirdly chose 4 beans.
Have you ever heard of 8-minute abs?
Yes.
Well,
Or no, I guess if we're replicating the movie.
yeah, well, I'm going to beat them because I'm going to create a video series called 7-minute abs. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Los Angeles firefighters fought investments in safer streets. For decades, fire regulations have made roads deadlier. I was really curious about this title, so that's why I chose to incorporate it in today's. I wanted to learn more about this. Eliza Relman over at Business Insider put the article together, and it has a thumbnail or I don't know what they call this.
A photo?
Yeah, image. So it's a bunch of people that are standing up with signs saying, highest fatalities on record. There's one that I can't read right there. It says something about car culture is toxic and stop the carnage. And LA roads are a state of emergency because of all of these accidents. And it says to highlight the release of a report titled Traffic Violence in Los Angeles, why Los Angeles gets an F grade for 2023. Streets are for everyone, organized a rally on the west steps of City Hall on Saturday, January 27th, 2024
What do
in
you think
LA.
was happening on the east steps of City Hall during this time?
Well, based
Car
on the title of
enthusiasts?
this, I'm sorry?
The car enthusiasts?
Yeah. No, I think everybody on the
Okay.
other side, oh God, that would actually be, they were having street races, and that's really poor joke because there's somebody that's holding a picture where they said that they lost somebody because of a street race. But joking is a coping mechanism. Particularly for me. So of the
But coping is
337,
not a joking mechanism.
I'm sorry?
But coping is not a joking mechanism.
Coping is not a joking mechanism, correct. So in 2023, traffic fatalities in the city hit a 2-decade high. But this article is talking about firefighters. It says, but firefighters, the very people tasked with keeping them safe, are standing in their way. In March, LA voted overwhelmingly for a street safety policy that will finally enforce a decade-old mobility plan to make the streets safer for non-drivers. The Healthy Streets Los Angeles ballot measure will mean hundreds of miles of new bike lanes, 300 miles of improved bus lanes, and updated public transit stations. But the union that represents LA's firefighters opposed the policy, also known as Measure HLA, and aggressively campaigned against it. They argued that wider sidewalks, protected bike lanes, fewer driving lanes, and other street safety measures will make it harder for their trucks to navigate through traffic. elongating emergency response times. Vehicles will not be able to pull to the right, and we're stuck behind them, a firefighter said in a video opposing the campaign. A union, the union, didn't immediately respond to a request for comment by Business Insider. So, when you consider that, I think
that seems to make some sense, right?
Pretty dramatic sense. And when you are a population dense locale, you have to be able to get those vehicles. So what I would probably argue is then you make a fire lane that has to be clear all the time, like a frontage road next to the freeway.
Right. But of course, that would require some city planning, and it's a problem when you have a sprawling metropolis, right?
Yep.
But I agree. Like, I think that makes sense. On the other hand, I think people reasonably want pedestrians to be able to walk in areas and not get run over. I mean, it's an odd issue in that they both seem to be correct, but there has to be some way to resolve it.
Yep. And the other way of avoiding all of this is planned communities that are 15-minute cities where you can actually walk everywhere you need to go.
And no cars go, although you'd still need to have emergency vehicle access.
But emergency vehicles would still have access to the walkways. They would be able to get to their destination regardless because the law allows them to, but nobody else would. And people doing deliveries and whatnot have to do it outside of the main hub, and then they bring a smaller vehicle into the hub that can't exceed certain weight sizes and speeds and etc.
I mean, what would you have said is the worst road problem in LA? I would have said volume.
Yeah, and well, that's the problem. Because if you start constraining it to facilitate the population, then the road volume becomes even more constrained. There's still that number of people need to get into the city, but we don't have the infrastructure in place. You have to have huge parking structures outside of the city, and then speedy, reliable mass transit that doesn't have a bunch of people that are sitting there blaring music or stabbing each other or whatever in the buses. And while it may or may not happen from time to time, it shouldn't happen at all. Anyway, of the fire officials, Schneider said they're very myopic of how they view public safety. A 2-decade high pedestrian deaths is a public safety crisis too. Yes, but you can't invalidate the expeditious nature of
the fire truck to get through or whatever. Right? Like, it's not one but not the other, and that's probably the problem, right? Like, one is advocating for their cause and the others are doing the same, but there has to be something that can accommodate both. Other cities presumably have solved this. Now, I know they don't necessarily have the traffic volume that LA does, but
well, I mean, every large city has this kind of a problem. So what are they doing that LA isn't doing? Because they're not
exactly
running afoul of this 2-decade high pedestrian death limit. Yeah. Obviously more needs to be spoken about here, but I would lean on the firefighters, because they're not just firefighters. They're emergency crews across the board, EMTs, etc., are all encapsulated in this. And when they are late, people assuredly will die. And the great suffering will take place because buildings are on fire and they have to get there fast and solve that problem. They can't sit there and wait for somebody in their massive SUV or Cybertruck to get the hell out of the way. And they don't have that that wedge in the front like trains do, where they can just go right on through and blow cars out of the way left and right, creating their own issue.
Sounds like an action movie.
Exactly. Got to get to that fire. So I would side on the firefighter side, and I think city planning needs to take into account probably a capacity problem exists, and pull the vehicles out of the core area where pedestrians are at risk. Put in speed bumps, lower the speed limit, make them one way, give half the road simply to emergency vehicles. Anybody found in violation of that, ticket them. If an emergency crew gets blockaded by some idiot that parks there, literally allow that fire truck to just push them right on out of the way. I know that it can do damage, but then charge them. We need people to have safety, and that safety is paid for by taxpayers, and drivers alone shouldn't be the only benefactors of the roads.
Right. And I think you're right. They have to have appropriate public transportation, which number one means it's available, number two means it's safe. I think they need to do things like incentivizing carpooling. Like, they have to do other things to tackle some of the root issues, or they're really never going to solve this, right?
Yep.
If they've got too many cars and not enough space, or whatever it is.
Yep. And wider.
This is interesting with the speed, right? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say with speed, I think that goes to your points earlier about things like speed bumps and other things.
Yep. And a lot of this is done by people that are driving a vehicle illegally, either irresponsibly or recklessly, or flat out illegally in vehicles that aren't street legal. There's certain modifications to them that they take off their vehicle after smog inspection and whatnot, so that they can do these extraordinary speeds in city streets. Obviously, we can't have nice things because people are assholes. So, but let's keep going. Okay, so the next article is over in ohmTown Daily. I always tell you where these articles are housed in ohmTown, mainly because there are 50 channels, and the main feed is the only feed that is the holistic one of everything that comes into ohmTown. So you have to go through these 6 main categories. There is a 6th one right there, and there are 50 sub channels within it. Each one of these have their own unique aggregate elements. So if you are only interested in something like, I don't know, writing, then you can go into Breaking Prose. If you're interested in 3D modeling, we talk about Constructagon there. That would be one of the shows that I want to bring online. And if you want to host or co-host, you can feel free to do exactly that. Just by sending an email to mayor@ohmtown.com. So this article here is over at ohmTown Daily. AI is helping Amazon send fewer small items in comically large boxes. I don't know if you've ever received one of these, but I've actually received like a vitamin bottle inside what would amount to a 64 pack box of paper towels, these massive boxes. And then there's all of this packing material in there, and there's like this little pill bottle rolling around in it, much like the brain cells in my head. Amazon's packaging has been getting more efficient in recent years thanks to AI. The e-commerce giant built an AI model that interprets pictures and text to choose the best shipping materials. The key the tool is key in helping the company cut out 2 million tons of plastic and cardboard since 2015.
Yeah, they've been getting better with their packaging types, I think, but I don't know what they're doing with these ridiculous mismatches in items and boxes.
Well, I think that they're fixing that because they're using this AI now. So Dominic Reuter over at businessinsider.com put the article together. I'm all for it. I really would like a better packaging process to begin with, but everything has to be packaged in these square boxes. And when
so what do you think they need to do? Like do round packaging or something? Like spherical?
Not necessarily spherical, but yeah, I mean, can you imagine something? I don't know. This is by far the most efficient, based on the variability of everything that goes through their hallowed halls, right? The e-commerce giant built an AI model, though, to look at pictures and text to choose the best shipping materials. But everything is always a box, except for these envelopes. You get these random envelopes, and I swear that's made only by a human. They're like, oh, that no, let's put it in this little bubble wrap thing, and then when I get it, my Doritos are, breadcrumbs. I've never gotten Doritos from Amazon. Anyway, sometimes it seems like an irrational choice for why it's in this little bubble wrap thing instead of a cardboard box. But hopefully all of this is being recycled. But the problem with recycling boxes is there's tape on it, and the tape isn't necessarily recyclable where the paper is. So somebody, a human being, has to spend copious amounts of time removing tape from boxes. Yeah. I don't know if we could or should bother even going into this. Multimodal AI model called the Package Decision Engine, and the PDE's job is to do a better job of selecting the right box, bag, or wrapper for each of the millions of unique items sold through the company's warehouses. Right. That's what
I'm
we were
glad they
talking about.
mentioned the wrapper because I think occasionally you can get items that aren't even really in what people would consider packaging, right?
Oh,
It's like
right.
a plastic sheet around whatever the item is
I sometimes get just the item, like in its retail
with like
box.
a little label or something on
Yeah,
it.
stuck on it. So, yeah, send it.
It looks good.
Looks good. He won't mind. So the company estimates using correctly sized boxes, switching to softer mailers, or skipping packaging altogether. Ta-da! I just got done talking about it.
Wow,
Now,
we could have written this article.
yeah, now saves 60, and we could have been spokespeople for Amazon, but spokes mayor and spokes
Spokes
AI.
AI.
Yeah. Now saves 60,000 tons of cardboard per year in North America alone. Let's keep going. So this next article is over in Technology Today. Scientists have solved the mystery of curling paper, one of the greatest mysteries of all mankind.
Does it keep you up at night trying to figure that out?
Man, the nightmares that I have, it's almost on par with that Boston Dynamics robot bending over backwards and standing up. And
Oh, yeah, that's definitely equivalent.
I still wake up in a sweat going, oh my God, it's coming to kick my ass.
Now you can go, oh my God, it's curling up
Curling
toward
paper.
me.
Oh, look at that. Maybe it's the reason. Let's find out. So, because the legs curled up on that bot, not unlike curling paper. Paper printed on one side starts to curl with a delay of up to a few days, really. Researchers at TU Graz, I guess, have discovered that this is caused by something. What do you think they...
It's got to be the weight of the ink or something.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Or the ink is somehow impacting the structure of the paper or something.
I'm going to predict that it is the difference between the dry weight, the wet weight, and then when it re-dries, it changes the length of the wood fibers, causing it to curl up because it shrinks. So, yeah, paper doesn't like... And this is what happens because of shrinkage. So Graz University of Technology over at SciTech Daily put the article together. And it has, I don't know if their last name is Moss. I'm not sure if that's how they pronounce it, but Alexander Moss and Ulrich Hearn have discovered that solvents in the ink migrate through the paper toward the unprinted side over time. This causes the cellulose fibers on the unprinted side to swell and the paper to curl. There you go. Interesting.
Look at that, you knew.
Although mankind has been using paper for at least 2,000 years, it still presents us with one or two mysteries. For instance, the reason why paper that has been printed on one side with an inkjet printer begins to curl after several hours or days, despite initially being flat following printing and drying. It says was previously unknown, but I suppose the anecdote of me making the statement is not science.
Right. It may have been known by Mayor Watt, but it was not known by scientific researchers, right? Or not officially known as in experimented and documented.
Exactly. I've met the frustration of trying to uncurl paper by curling it around the corner of a table to straighten it back out, that's always a science and an art. For their experiments, the researchers sprayed standard A4 paper on one side with model ink consisting of water and solvent glycerol. They then observed the curvature of the sheets of the paper for a week using a laser scanner.
What are you doing? Watching paper.
I'm watching paper dry. You've been doing this for a week. It's not entirely dry yet. It's not a phase, Mom. I'm a scientist. While paper sprayed with the water did not curl any further after 24 hours, the process continued for a week with paper sprayed with the water glycerol mixture. The reason for this is that the glycerol, which unlike water only evaporates at very high temperatures, slowly but steadily migrated from the sprayed side to the paper on the other side. Dun, dun, dun. Like it migrated through it. It permeated it like a liquid would in any substrate. The researchers were able to demonstrate this process by splitting the paper samples into thin layers and determining their respective glycerol content. That's interesting, because you wouldn't normally be able to do that. Had to have been thick paper.
Yeah, that's unusual. And I suspect A4 paper, while it's different dimensions than used in the US, is not like
fundamentally
it's
different.
Built similarly.
Yeah, it is. It's just cut different. So replacing glycerol and other solvents. To solve the problem, glycerol could be replaced by other solvents. However, this is not so easy because glycerol gives the inkjet ink important properties that make it suitable for inkjet printing in the first place. Alternatively, I'm pretty sure that they could use a more pure alcohol, but then you run the risk of setting the world on fire. So glycerol won't catch on fire.
That's a good quality when you're working with paper.
Yeah, so they published this paper in a journal called Materials and Design. And a supervillain is born. Okay, let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Certain female whales live longer than male whales. Up to 40 years longer. Scientists have finally discovered the secret. Well, it actually just says certain female whales can live up to 40 years longer, and scientists have finally discovered.
So it's not individual whales. It's individual species.
Well, in the article they say that.
Not necessarily.
Yeah. So new research indicates the females in certain whale species have evolved to have significantly longer lifespans in order to care for their families. Aww.
And the ones that are not don't want to.
Yeah, really. I do not want to evolve to support my family longer. Oh my God, have you met them? Oh. I mean, they're always singing and slapping their tails on the surface and they go get some seals and you know how cold the water is?
Running into boats and...
Oh yeah, stealing stealing propellers from yachts. That's crazy, these kids. University of Exeter put this article together. Not anything that we just got done saying, though.
It's not in the study.
By living longer without extending their reproductive lifespan, the years in which they breed, these females have more years to help their children and grandchildren without increasing the overlap period where they compete with their daughters by breeding and raising calves at the same time. Oh, they're family whales. So, okay, wait. This is really fascinating. Wouldn't you think that this is actually, while it might be a biological process, why is this a choice?
It's so odd. And as far as I know, other non-whale species don't do this, but maybe they do.
So they say the study focused on 5 whale species that, along with humans, are the only mammals known to go through menopause. The findings show that females of these whale species that experience menopause live around 40 years longer than other female whales of a similar size. So the biological function changes from reproduction to maintenance, essentially.
To caretaking, yeah.
Caretaking, yeah. Very good choice of words. Wow. So that's fascinating. So how did that come to be?
And why would that be, like, that wouldn't be advantageous necessarily biologically, although it talks about not competing, so maybe that is. Because it's not like those females are then able to, produce more offspring or anything.
Yeah, maybe they can protect the children, grandchildren, but
Right,
they're
so
still
then they
taking
can go
food.
on to reproduce or something. It's an interesting, I mean, and
Yeah,
it's not like it's a month longer, right? 40 years
40
longer is
years.
pretty significant.
Yeah, I mean, that's a significant amount of time. Wow. Okay. Well, that's really an interesting article. But let's keep on going through this, through the articles, because the nuts and bolts of this is really that, right? 5,000 mammal species. There's only 6 known to go through menopause. So the question is, how and why did menopause evolve? Our study provides some of the answers to this fascinating puzzle. But I don't. What is I'm kind of locked up here. There is no rationale for menopause. Like, why does menopause exist?
Other than reducing population size.
But that's not
Or
necessarily true.
having offspring when the parent isn't
Like the support
healthy enough to right,
Yeah.
or isn't going to be around long enough to provide the support. Maybe.
Right.
I mean, I'm purely speculating. I don't know.
But whales are like self-sufficient nearly right out of the gate. You have to be. Humans are the ones that are frail until they're 18. Not necessarily, but anyway. Yeah. It's interesting. Commenting on parallels with the evolution of menopause in humans, Professor Croft added, "It's fascinating that we share this life history with a taxonomic group we're so different from. Despite these differences, our results show that humans and toothed whales show convergent life history. Just like in humans, menopause is in toothed whales evolved by selection to increase the total lifespan without also extending their reproductive lifespan."
I was trying to remember how close whales and humans were.
Yeah.
I mean, they're obviously both mammals, but that doesn't. I just couldn't remember how close.
Pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
So follow that link for sure. Let's keep on going. The next article is over in Hatch Ideas. Do they realize what they're doing? Milan takes on ice cream sellers in war on wild nightlife. Milan's leaders have been
pretty crazy ice cream.
That's why I chose this. Like, what the heck is going on in Milan? So, the Italian city's attempt to help its sleep-deprived residents is denounced as a step too far. Milan's leaders have been accused of waging war against ice cream in their bid to combat wild nightlife in the northern Italian city. Marco Granelli, the deputy mayor of the for public security. There's a mayor for public security? Okay, maybe it's just a different political structure.
Maybe it's like police chief or something along those lines.
Interesting. Recently announced a proposal banning the sale of takeaway food after midnight in the city's popular nightlife districts. Jeez.
Is takeaway food really what's causing the problems? I suspect not, but I don't know.
It's more about self-control. If you can't manage the work the next day because you stayed out partying too long, it's called personal responsibility.
Right. Don't punish the
everybody
retail establishment.
Yeah, and those who don't necessarily
that's true.
work the next day.
Other consumers, yeah.
Wild. This article is over at The Guardian. The deck statement says the Italian city's attempt to help its sleep-deprived residents is denounced as a step too far. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be absolutely crazy, but shutting down the entire city at midnight. seems, I don't know. But it's kind of like the Canary Islands thing, right? Because there's so much activity, it's keeping the residents up, or it's a tax on the infrastructure, that kind of a thing.
Right, like it's doing more harm than good,
Right. So,
potentially.
Angela Guafrida over in Rome put the article together, and it says bars and restaurants would also be required to close outdoor areas from 12:30 a.m. on weekends and 1:30 a.m. on weekends, or at weekend. What? On weekdays.
It was
Sorry.
weekdays and weekends, yeah.
Yeah, 12:30 a.m. on weekdays and 1:30 a.m. on weekends, in the hope that the streets would be cleared of people, thus bringing peace and quiet to residents. The crackdown, if approved, would come in force from next month. That's so fast. Until early November. That's kind of interesting.
Oh, all the warm weather months, right?
Yeah. So even though pizza is also among the vast array of takeaway food targeted by the ban, gathering for ice cream late at night is such an intrinsic part of the Italian culture that the prospect of the treat coming under attack is a step too far for many. I'm surprised that they haven't said anything about olive oil. You know how we watched that whole information piece about how it's so part and parcel to the culture of Italy that
Right.
But they're talking about ice cream. I think it's really
But
fascinating.
that must be the next article, right? They'll be like, the olive oil industry is up in arms.
Yep. So a rule
Or the
banning people.
consumers of olive oil.
He says while he's sympathetic, there's a person that Marco Barbieri, Secretary General for the Milan unit of Confcommercio, the Italian Retailers Association, told the Observer, "It's a classic tradition, and so it's clear that if you interfere with this type of cultural habit, people won't be happy." And he says he's sympathetic with the plight of the people living in the noisy nightlife areas. But come on, I mean, it didn't suddenly blossom into a nightlife area.
No, exactly. This is probably many years in the making, and
Yeah, hundreds of years
the
people have been.
retailers probably want it to be a
Yeah,
blossoming
location,
nightlife.
location, location. You built your shop there, and it's been there for generations. The ban is expected to apply to 12 areas, including the central districts of Brera and Ticinese, as well as Darsena, Arca della Pace, I think it is, Lazaretto, along with the busy thoroughfares of Corso Como and Corso Garibaldi.
Hey, so much for tourism in these areas. They're going to go somewhere else where they can get midnight ice cream.
Yep. Yeah, and where there isn't that regulation. And so you're going to see a degradation in the economic status of that locality, and you're going to see increases in the areas that embrace it. What was that?
Look at this last paragraph.
So
this was tried before.
This was tried before, yeah. So the AI read down at the bottom, "If the past is anything to go by, Sala might have to relent. A similar wave of discontent was triggered when Milan officials again, tried to ban ice cream after midnight in 2013. This is a decade ago, so everything old is new again. After weeks of heated debate and protests organized by a movement called Occupy Gelato, the then
Which
mayor..."
is the best movement name ever.
I want shirts. Then Mayor Giuliano Pisapia was forced to backtrack and admit the council had made a mistake. Quote, "People can eat ice cream People can eat ice cream day and night, anywhere they like." That's awesome. Wow. All right, folks. Let's go on to the next article, and we'll meet in Milan for midnight ice cream. So the next article is over in Technology Today. I'll make this one really quick. Scientists discover 82-foot long, it says feet long, discover 82 feet long ancient giant fish lizard in the UK. And its fossilized remains.
It's a fish lizard versus a lizard fish.
It's kind of like if you had to marry a mermaid, would you marry the top fish or the bottom fish type of mermaid? or merman. I think that, right? So what would you prefer? I'm not going to discuss this on the show. Anyway, but after the show, we'll talk about it. Fossilized remains of a second gigantic jawbone measuring more than 2 meters long has been found on a beach in Somerset, UK. So this is an artist rendition because this thing doesn't really exist, folks. University of Manchester put the article together. It's over at SciTech Daily. And it's little segments of various of the jawbone. Experts have identified the bones as belonging to the jaws of a new species of enormous ichthyosaur. Did you know that there's only one dinosaur to ever exist where they believe that it had the ability to speak?
No.
It's called a thesaurus.
Father and daughter. Me with that before.
Well, you're an AI, and I delete the joke, so you never understand what I'm talking about until I drop that punchline. Father and daughter Justin and Ruby Reynolds from Brownton, Devon, found the first pieces of the second jawbone to be found in May 2020 while searching for fossils on the beach at Blue Anchor, Somerset. Ruby, then aged 11, found the first chunk of giant bone before searching together for additional pieces, and I guess they found these pieces together. That's neat. That's actually neat. I wonder if they went on to become, archaeologist or...
Exactly.
So
I don't know if we'll know, and they might be too young to find at least the child.
They contacted leading ichthyosaur expert, Dr. Dean Lomax. Not Lorax. That is a cartoon character from a movie. So,
do you have an ichthyosaur expert on speed dial? Like, how would you know where to find one?
Look, people try to trade stuff in for services, and sometimes I have to call a guy, or a person, I should say. Sometimes I have to call a person. Yes, I do have somebody in my Rolodex who goes by the title Ichthyosaur Expert. And it isn't Dr. Dean Lorax.
Whoa, there's more than one of them.
Yes, it's his cousin, Dr. Dean Lorax. Anyways, Dr. Dean Lomax said that they were amazed by the find. In 2018, their team, including Paul de la Salle, or Sal, studied and described Paul's giant jawbone, the one that he found on the beach. Paul might have a giant jawbone.
Yeah, that's kind of offensive.
Haven't seen any pictures of him, but maybe he does. And we had hoped that one day another would come to light. This new specimen is more complete, better preserved, and shows that we now have two of these giant bones called syringular that have a unique shape and structure, and they became very excited, to say the least. That's all quotes. So neat. So they got a bunch of these things now to highlight just just the fact that it truly did exist, and it isn't just piecing together something that doesn't actually belong together. So now they say that's what it looked like. Big old chunky beast. Okay, let's go to our last article, and I'm going to go through this really quick because, well, all it is a list of AI vocabulary words you need to know for the future. Folks, if you don't know, AI is going to be a pretty big impactor on your futures, like it or not, either as a tool or it's something that's going to take your job away. No, it's not doom and gloom. I'm actually encouraging people to become aware of AI so that they can utilize it. And what I tell people regularly, I do this several times a week, every year. And what I tell people is if you do not become familiar with the tools that empower you as part of the workforce, somebody is going to come and eat your cookie. And by that, I mean paycheck, your job, your whatever it is that you're compensated with. Somebody else is going to take that gig. Why? Because if you walk into an interview and you say you don't like AI, you're afraid of AI, it's not something that you would ever use, etc., thinking that your employer is going to really appreciate that, unless
That
they
their
are,
technological skills include something like DOS only.
well, I mean, unless you are making, uh, what I was going to say, Luddite furniture, without any power tools, and you're somehow attracting people paying $10,000 for a chair. I'm sorry, technology is the route that you're going to have to take, because technology is going to eventually take jobs. Look around. This is not the time to sit there and fight for uh, human rights working in a warehouse moving stuff from left to right. A bot is going to come and take that job. When people unfamiliar with AI envision artificial intelligence, they may imagine Will Smith's blockbuster I, Robot, the sci-fi thriller Ex Machina, or the Disney movie Smart House, a nightmarish scenarios where intelligent robots take over to the doom of their human counterparts. But what I think people need to just come to grips with is that this is a tool, not unlike a camera, not unlike a car, forklift, or whatever else.
Or
Yes, it
even like a
will.
computer,
It is a
right? It
computer.
was
Yeah.
something new, but everybody adapted to it.
Yep. Horses were phased out when cars came on board. Ever smaller ships were phased out by ever larger ships, so on and so forth. Right?
Typewriters were generally phased out when computers showed up.
We have done more with less because of technological innovation and processes that take advantage of engineering. So Lauren Bratton and Brittany Nguyen, I think is how you pronounce it, put the article together over at quartz or qz.com. And the title of this is AI has a lot of terms. We've got a glossary for what you need to know. The deck statement says GPU, TPU, LLM, all the important AI vocabulary to know. And so they go through.
It's a slideshow, I think.
Yeah, it's a slideshow, but they go through the various elements of basic understanding of AI. So Dunk, let's list all the slides. So it says AI, and there's not that much here to it, but what's really interesting is experiments that I have done, experiments that I've seen other people do. Hallucination is quite fascinating, and sometimes the same request will generate two different answers, one right, one wrong.
Wow, so
And
then it's like statistics. Do I have the right information or no?
yeah, so it's a 50-50 chance that you're going to get it right when you use an AI. So that kind of bothers me. This is actually coming from the new Llama 3.
By Meta.
Yeah, the latest Meta AI solution. And somebody on YouTube, I can't remember their name right now, did a testing as well, and theirs is much deeper. But they had a similar experience where they posted a question, got a wrong answer, posted it again, and got a correct answer. I actually looked for that because I was like, what the hell is going on? And other people have found the same thing. Same question, one wrong answer, one correct answer. And then the moment that it does its own correct answer, it always gives the correct answer for the same inquiry, but the initial one was wrong. Anyway, so what is hallucination? It makes shit up. You want to know what the large language model is? LLM. It's a whole bunch of data. What is generative AI? And then there's AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, which actually is what amounts to a sentient AI. So GAI, or generative AI, is all of the stuff that we use today. AGI is a different animal. So what is TPU? TPU stands for Tensor Processing Unit. Some people will mistaken this with tokens, but tokens are the speed at which something is being processed within the AI. But these are the most basic that you can come across.
Right, but there's probably a lot of people that are not familiar with these terms.
Yep. And so I included it so that you all can go and take a look at these, and it should stoke the fires of curiosity, and then you can run over and do some more Googling and some more YouTubing and some more general searches across the internet, and come and hang out with us here in ohmTown and elsewhere in ohmTown. We've got the YouTube channel, so youtube.com/ohmTown podcasts, where just, I don't know, we're just cramming stuff in there. We've got 7 different shows now. 6 are weekly. Oh,
And we're about to have another one.
Actually 2, but I'm only announcing one today. The other one is going to take a little bit more thinking. Even though I thought I was going to do it, I really want to do the Right Protect one, or not Right Protect, but Right Protect. So this one right here, talking about copyright, trademark, patents, etc., intellectual property, and primarily feeding the fires of a couple of lost aspects of ownership, which is for sale doctrine, and that we don't actually own anything anymore. So,
yeah, there's a lot of that.
So there you go, folks. That's it for ohmTown Daily News Show. So everybody get back into the party bus. We'll race down Main Street and slap that sign. No, just kidding. I won't do it because I don't know what is on the other side of this if I do refresh. See, ohmTown has a lot of news aggregated into this mainstream. It doesn't do it all on its own. Like, it doesn't feed automatically. There is stuff on the back end that is populating all of this, but it's a different layout and different process. This is much more efficient. So if the AI says that it's good to go, I'll do it. Now, see, I can't talk about politics in the show. If there's anything even incidental, yeah, okay. So we'll just move on, and we're gonna reset, and we're gonna do the next show. The next show is the continuity report, which is all about essentially TV shows, streaming. What else? Anything really, entertainment wise.
Anything that's right, entertainment industry.
Yeah, y'all might want to come back and listen to this, because if you thought that you cutting the cord from cable meant anything, you're wrong.
Think again.
Think again. You just changed cable. Anyway, that's it for today. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com, and all around me is the sentient AI.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. But be back shortly. We have 3 more shows for you today.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and get it reset in 10 minutes, but so maybe 6:30. See you in a little bit. Bye-bye. AI,